encourage you, where possible, to really sort of get away from screens and do something different. But I hope you got a chance to do that. So yeah, this afternoon we're going to be carrying on with the rest of the topics you can see here on the screen. And first of all, we're going to look at positive relational experiences. So it would be understandable if, having you listened to the first half of our talk, that you feel saddened by the boulders of trauma and pain that many young people face.
You, but you're not spotlit for me. I don't know if you are for other people. There we go. Tab.
Thank you. Let's just check this out on my end. Thank you. And Lynn, you also gave us a really helpful reminder. So if people right-click my face and click on Fit to Frame, you'll see the whole presentation. And just checking your recording, that'll be brilliant. Okay. So yeah, so I was talking about how it could be understandable that you've listened to the first half of the talk, and understandably you might feel quite saddened by the huge amount of trauma and pain that we're talking about that many young people face, but maybe also feeling helpless or hopeless about what you or the community around you can do. So what we would really like to give a message of is that there is hope. There is lots of hope. Because even when young people don't experience safe, trusted adults at home, evidence tells us that professionals, volunteers, members of a community, anyone at all can be those trusted adults. In fact, those safe, trusted adults outside of the home can be the thing that makes the difference. And to really help illustrate that, we've got a clip of being right to show you. So I'll just share that now.
Mr. Pigden, he wanted to teach. And he probably wanted to teach because he wanted to find a student that he could change their lives. And it was me. I was the guy. I can't even tell you. Sometimes I think about him literally every day. He gave me some self-worth. He made me feel like I was important. I remember when I met him again, it was really strange.
Hello, Ian. Long time no see.
Mr. Pigden, you're alive.
I'm alive, he says. How are you doing?
I can't believe it. Someone said you was dead.
As you see, I'm very much in, and I'm so glad you've done so well with yourself.
I don't know what to say.
God.
God, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I don't know why I didn't tell Mr. Pigden about what was happening at home, but just having his encouragement really helped. To see how schools are trying to support children who are having the same difficulties that I had, I've come back to the place where I first met Mr. Pigden, my old primary school, Turnham Academy. How are you? Good to see you, okay? How are you? I'm very good.
We're really lucky that we have an outstanding head of pastoral care, Mr. Alexander, who really works with the children. Mr. Alexander, Ian Wright. Always Mr. Alexander. It's Anthony's first name. You're allowed to use it.
Look at Anthony's smile, man. How could you be naughty when this guy smile, man? Great to meet you, man. It's absolutely pleasure, man. I'm so looking forward to speaking to you, man.
You too.
So what is it you actually do, Andy?
So the kids ask me that sometimes. They say, Alexander, what's your actual job? And I said, my job's just to make sure you guys are happy. But lots of circumstances mean that there are some things our kids don't get or can't get. And I feel like our job here, then, is to try and plug some of those gaps.
Have you seen the difference?
Yeah, definitely. And that's always a nice thing. We can't necessarily change their home situations. But what we can do is, while they're here, this is where we flood them with all of those positive things, all of those ideas that you can achieve, you can do this, you can do that. I'm not going to change, and we're not going to change everyone just because we do fantastic stuff at school. But my hope is that they'll be able to look back and say, because of the help I got here, that helped me to be able to do this. And that's the success. I might not get to see it in the next 10 years, but then 12 years down the line, if I see them on the street and they're really happy and they're doing really well, and there's, you know, even a smile to see you again, be like, oh, Mr. Alexander, you know, and they remember you and you're like, yeah, that alone for me is like, yeah, you remember me. My guy, you know, my guy. I'm so proud of you.
It's so important that we can try and reach kids that may be in these vulnerable environments. Catching the kids at a young age so they can deal with emotions so it doesn't fester. It's got to be a good thing.
Not every school has an Anthony. I can see how important he is for the kids at Turnham, like Mr. Pigden was for me. He passed away a few years ago now, but we made sure he was never forgotten.
In recognition of Sydney Charles Pigden for his dedicated service to the Lewisham community, World War II Spitfire pilot, teacher at Turnham School, Secretary Lewisham Primary Schools, Football Association, and sports coach and mentor. See? He'd be proud of me how I read that. He's a great man.
So yeah, gosh, I've seen that clip many times, and it still really hits me. Just seeing the impact that Mr. Pigden had on Ian Wright, and you know, so many things with today's presentation. We can talk about it for a long time, but it's those kind of clips, those observations of just incredible human connection that says it all. And I think what also really stands out for me is that Mr. Pigden probably wasn't quite aware of how big of an impact he had had at the time. Whereas Ian Wright, he says that he's thought of him almost every single day. So while I guess for a long time, I'm sure many people have known it in their hearts that we may have sensed the importance of relationships with safe, trusted adults. What's fantastic now is we now actually have the research to back it up. So risks of ACEs, so adverse childhood experiences, which Lynn was talking about earlier, substantially mitigated by having a trusted adult support during childhood. Perceived social and emotional support protects against depression. Fewer protective adult relationships associated with increased risk-taking during youth. Positive relationships in childhood buffer against ACEs and a strong protective factor for mental health. In childhood, resilience resources include having a stable, trusted relationship with an adult. For a child exposed to significant stress, a strong buffering relationship with an adult can be the difference between toxic stress and tolerable stress. So really kind of linking back to the resilience trailer that Lynn showed us earlier, what they were talking about there is toxic stress and how it can have such a detrimental impact on a child's entire life, both in an emotional way, but also a physical way. And it just warms my heart to know that a relationship with a safe, trusted adult could be the difference that turns it from toxic stress into tolerable stress. So yeah, so it's just fantastic to see that really there's a little argument to be made really against what we're suggesting. We know it kind of in our heart, but the research also backs it up for us as well. Okay. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but we're going to move now into a breakout room. So as Lynn said at the very beginning of our talk today, but where some people weren't able to make that beginning, this talk will of course bring up lots of different thoughts and feelings of people. This exercise you're aware might be just worth thinking about whether it's the right thing for you today, and just feel absolutely fine to step out or maybe to go into a breakout room and just to observe. You don't have to contribute if you don't want to. But what we're going to be asking you to think about in your breakout room is, which adults did you feel safest with growing up? And what about the relationship made it feel safe? And we wanted to give people a decent chunk of time, so we're going to have about 15 minutes in these breakout rooms. So I'll hand over to Helen now. Hopefully, if technology works in our favour, we'll be able to send us all into breakout rooms.